Hi, my name is Ryan. In this podcast, I talk about how companies use AI in everyday business operations, internal processes, workflows, and systems that teams rely on every day. Today, I want to start with a simple observation. Many companies try to use AI as a shortcut. They expect it to fix processes that were never clearly defined in the first place. When that doesn't work, they conclude that AI itself is the problem. In most cases, the technology works exactly as designed. It's the surrounding process that fails. AI works best when something already exists, when work repeats every day, when rules are mostly stable, and when ownership is clear. To make this concrete, let's look at a real operational case. Today's case: a company with around 80 employees. They provide a service to other businesses, and most requests still start in one place: a shared inbox. Customers write for quotes, they report issues, they ask for updates, and they often send follow-ups to the same thread. Inside the company, three groups care about that inbox: sales, support, and operations. Early on, it feels manageable. Someone checks the inbox a few times a day. They forward messages to the right person, and customers usually get an answer. Then volume grows. Not overnight. Slowly, the inbox starts receiving 20 emails a day, then 40, then 60. A few things happen at the same time. First, ownership becomes unclear. Sales thinks support should answer. Support thinks operations should answer. Operations forwards it back to sales. Second, people duplicate work. Two different employees reply to the same customer. Or worse, a customer gets two different answers. Third, the inbox becomes a hiding place. When nobody owns a request, it stays in the inbox. Let me give you a realistic example. A customer writes, "We need a quote for next week." The message also includes a question about an existing order. Sales sees quote and starts working on it. Support sees existing order and replies about delivery status. The customer is now confused because nobody answered the full request. Another example. A support message comes in with screenshots. It looks technical, so it gets forwarded twice. By the time it reaches the right person, 3 days have passed. Customers follow up. Follow-ups increase volume even more. And now the team is permanently behind. Here is the key detail. They do not have a simple intake structure. No categories that everyone agrees on. No first response target. No clear escalation path. So when someone says, "Let's automate this," the expectation becomes, automation will create order. But if the rules are missing, automation has nothing reliable to follow. At this point, management sees symptoms. Response time is inconsistent. Some customers get an answer in 20 minutes. Others wait 2 days. Sales complains that leads are going cold. Support complains that urgent issues are buried. Operations complains that everyone is interrupting everyone. And the inbox becomes the excuse. People say the inbox is crazy. But what they really mean is, we don't have a shared process. You can usually spot it in small details. There is no agreed subject line format. No standard way to ask for information. No checklist for what a complete request looks like. So customers send half the information. The team replies with questions. Customers reply again, and the thread grows longer and messier. Now imagine someone tries to add automation on top. If the system drafts a reply, it still needs the missing details. If the system routes the message, it still depends on categories the company never defined. So the setup looks automated, but the underlying work is the same. One last scene because it's common. It's Friday afternoon. Someone notices a message marked urgent from Wednesday. They open it and realize it should have been handled by support. But it sat in the inbox because the subject line looked like a sales request. Now support is under pressure. The customer is already annoyed, and the team is reacting instead of working. This is the moment many teams describe as, "We're drowning in email." But the real issue is predictable. They need a simple intake model, a small set of categories, clear owners, and a basic rule for what counts as urgent. Once that exists, automation can help the team move faster. Without that, automation just speeds up the chaos. So, what is the realistic fix here? The sequence matters. First, you create a simple intake model. Then you add automation to speed it up. Start with 4 basic decisions. Step 1. Pick a small set of categories. Keep it simple. Sales inquiry, support issue, order status, billing, and general. Step 2. Assign an owner for each category. Owner means one thing. Someone is responsible for making sure it gets answered. Step 3. Set a first response target. Not a complex agreement. Just a rule. For example, a first response within 4 business hours. Even if it is only, "We received this. Here is what we need from you. Here is the next step." Step 4. Define what urgent means. For example, service interrupted, safety risk, or a deadline at risk. Now automation becomes useful. It can classify new messages into your categories. It can route them to the right queue or team. And it can draft first responses for repetitive requests. Here is a practical way to start without breaking anything. For 1 week, do it in assist mode. The system suggests a category and a draft reply, but a person approves everything. During that week, you learn 2 things. First, which categories are unclear. Second, which replies repeat most often. Then you tighten the rules. You rewrite 1 or 2 templates. You clarify what counts as urgent. And you remove categories nobody uses. One more practical win is missing information. If a request is incomplete, the system drafts a short clarification message. This reduces back and forth, and it reduces the size of the thread. To know if it works, track 3 things. First response time, backlog size, and duplicate replies. If those improve, you are winning. If they don't, fix the rules. Do not add more tools. Before we close, a quick warning. Most teams fail here for a few predictable reasons. First, too many categories. If you create 15 categories, people will not use them consistently. and classification will be inconsistent as well. Second, no clear owner. If ownership is unclear, routing becomes politics, and technology cannot solve politics. Third, expecting automation to make decisions. Drafts are fine. Routing is fine. Summaries are fine. But final decisions, especially customer-facing ones, still need a human. Fourth, trying to automate everything at once. Start with one inbox, one intake model, one set of rules, then expand. Here is the takeaway. Start with a process that already exists and repeats every day. Make the rules visible. Assign ownership. Define what urgent means and set a simple first response target. Then use automation to move faster, not to replace people, but to reduce unnecessary back and forth. If you want the checklist, it's in the newsletter. The link is in the description. Thanks for listening.